Good morning, New Zealand and the world. Lucas Lawman's here, Kiwi Voice on your Sunday morning. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. Once you do so, we get a few people on here in the slightly altered studio setup with our mate, the Pac-Man here, plant behind us, and we've got a few things that we would love to carry on with. Do the usual, have a bit of a yarn, get involved in those comments, and we'll see what we can come up with. Let's seize the day. So typical sort of roundup of political goings on, whatever else I decided to have a bit of a yarn about. So I'll wait for a few people to get on before we dive in. Hope you're having an awesome Sunday here in Christchurch. It's absolutely beautiful once again. Things turned to a bit of crap yesterday afternoon. Thank you, Asher, for joining us. Thank you for the comment. Yeah, great initiative, the FU. Really, really good initiative. We'll be keeping an eye on that and potentially reporting on some of those as they come through. Words out of the mouths of true Kiwis. So yeah, we've got a bit to go through, a few pages of notes. As I say, I'll check in on the comments and that as well before we get out and enjoy this last day of the weekend. We have got some other stuff coming up for you as well, which we will talk about in terms of interviews and so forth and other video content. But without further ado, let's dive into it. Once again, thanks to everyone that gives us stuff and has tuned in to hang out with us. Firstly, we must say congratulations to our Black Ferns women's rugby team. By all accounts, including the highlights that I caught up with this morning, it was a magnificent win, a real physical battle in front of 50,000 screaming fans at Eden Park. It's a great advertisement for the sport and hopefully will lead to bigger and better things for women's rugby. I played rugby for 21 odd years, but in the last 2 or 3 years, I must say I have lost my passion for it somewhat due to a combination of factors. What I perceive as a decline in quality of our national game, for a variety of reasons, including never-ending tinkering with rules and officiating, and arising in my own personal consciousness of the beauty of basketball, which I continue to play and obsessively watch the NBA as well, almost every single day. But this game, this Black Ferns win, along with the Italian win over Australia this weekend, and to a lesser extent, the Samoan win over England in the league as well, reminded me of how great and unifying the sport of rugby can be. The camaraderie is strong. It's a physical, skillful, wonderful game. I shouldn't really let that on a personal level slip out of the consciousness as much as I have perhaps. I applaud once again the efforts of our elite female rugby players. Well done, team. Awesome stuff. So after that brief departure away from politics, let's head back into political news over at stuff.co.nz. Our favourite reporter there, friend of the show, Andrea Vance, has penned an opinion piece, and I would opine there is much else besides this from our largest MSM outlets' senior voices these days. And what I mean by that is there isn't really much else from these senior writers other than opinion pieces that floats the idea of our government getting further involved with Air NZ, this particular article, it's Air New Zealand, basically by scolding them. Into the world after years of pandemic restrictions essentially decimating and shuttering its business, destroying large parts of its network. The physical queues are long, the call centre queues are even longer, and cancellation and delays are fast becoming the norm. If you've done any travelling, air travel, domestic or international, you will know what in the recent, since things have reopened, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So the commenting and the reporting on that aspect was correct. Andrea makes the point in the article that all of this isn't good enough, that Air New Zealand should pivot as other businesses have. Most of this to some degree of failure, I must admit. If you do look at the businesses that are trying to reinvent and reinvigorate themselves since the pandemic had such an effect on them, they're not doing too well, and that the government should, through old mate lying pudding Grant Robertson, send them a strongly worded "please explain" letter. This also to be clear after Andrea states that the fact that the government owns 52% of the airline and has bailed it out twice over the past 20 years to the cost of billions and billions to us, the New Zealand taxpayer. Then it proceeded to completely dismantle it with COVID restrictions that we're well aware of now were nothing but damaging for a myriad of reasons, and we've covered this off, and I've discussed it many times here on Kiwi Voice, much to the chagrin of some of the other people on here that like to frequent the page. It is always going to be the first and largest company in New Zealand to begin to collapse once we shut our borders, and now Ms. Vance thinks the government should do more. I think personally, this is the state of our mainstream media in New Zealand right now. They're cheerleading government involvement in our national carrier after they bailed them out a couple of times, they own half of it, and they ruined it with pandemic restrictions. And so, hey, let's get involved a little bit more. I have an idea for you. How about you just leave Air New Zealand alone, keep the government well away from it, and let the smart business people actually know what they are doing to attempt to rescue it in the current volatile global environment. Let us know your thoughts on that one. I think they should absolutely stay out of it and let those people figure it out. Now, the PM, moving on, the PM continues her globe-trotting with globe-trotting year with a trip over to the East Asia Summit, or EAS, in Cambodia and the APEC Summit in Bangkok, as reported by Joe Moore on Newsroom. This tops her travel schedule since April, where she has headed to Australia and London and the US twice, Fiji, England, Spain, Brussels, Singapore, Japan, and Antarctica. Newsroom has reported on Jacinda Ardern's words for Russia. Should she encounter Putin or any of his representatives while abroad. Now, it's widely expected that Putin would not attend this summit, but would send a high-level representative. She stated, however, can you prevent passing someone in a hallway or seeing someone in a meeting room? No. You can't prevent that entirely, and if the opportunity ever arose where I were face-to-face with anyone in the Russian leadership, I would say exactly privately what I say publicly. The war is illegal and must end for the good of all of us. Posturing, I would say, considering you're fully supporting the war and escalation and continued, the continued war. I'm not 100% sure why our PM's position on Russia continues to be trumpeted by our mainstream government-funded mainstream media. Does anyone else out there in the rest of the world really care what New Zealand thinks? Is it virtue signaling to the New Zealand people gullible enough to buy the message, or other countries are listening, or are other countries listening to little old New Zealand? Why are they, if they are? I've mucked that sentence up, but I think you get my drift. It continues to flummox me, and I must admit. Aside from that, they note in bold in the article, in her comments, I would be gone for a continuous long period. I would not be chairing cabinet through those periods. I'm very mindful of the length of time I spend out of New Zealand. This was in response to the question around why she would not attend the COP27 climate change Lovin', also highlighting this so strongly, again, appears to counter reality based on the amount of travel completed this year by her. It should apply to both of those things. So, yeah, mainstream media doing the usual, can't help but trumpet up the organisation that funds and supports and holds them together, which, of course, is New Zealand taxpayer via the New Zealand government. Now, there is a section around climate change action in this article and all the usual talking points before going on to cover the PM's comments on how she was hopeful of gaining a formal meeting with China's dictator-in-chief, Xi Jinping. We'll be reflecting on the areas of strength where we cooperate well. Often those are in the trade space. Increasingly, we're seeking to work together in the climate and biodiversity space, she said. So that just illustrates yet again the power that China has throughout the world. Its tentacles are everywhere, regardless of what you think of their dictatorship, their communists regime, their human rights abuses, etc. You're stuck having to trade with them. You're linked into them. There's far too much dependency. We will see how that goes in these unstable times. And they're not just, it's not just this historical links that we have. They are actually trying to continue to expand through the Pacific as well, as we have covered here on Kiwi Voice. Also, then there are different areas or areas of difference on issues like human rights and, of course, what we see ongoing strategic competition in our region acknowledged there. The Daily Examiner continues its unflinching coverage of Three Waters reforms
as they continue to be forced through, with its most recent headline stating, government gaslighting Kiwis with claim they are listening, in quotations, on Three Waters. It discusses Nanaia Mahuta's recent comments in response to the more than 80,000 Kiwis who took the time and effort to submit on the Three Waters bill, which, as we all now well know, almost mucked that one up, will, quote, take community-owned water assets from council and put them into the control of unaccountable and expensive entities. As per the Daily Examiner, Mahuta thanked the committee for its careful consideration of more than the 80,000 submissions and claims that extensive changes have been proposed in a statement published on the Beehive website and sent to media. Now, I'm going to dive into what the New Zealand Taxpayers Union and Jordan Williams has said in response to the response, and it's a bit wordy. We're going to read it all. I think it's worth it. Let's get into it. According to Jordan Williams from the Taxpayers Union, who have been at the forefront
action against this bill with extensive campaigns across the country, which we've covered here on Kiwi Voice as well. Hopefully you can hear. The number of submissions ranks this bill among the most submit. Oh, yep, okay. Bugger.
What about now, team? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Hopefully the sound has come back for you all. We were doing so well. If not, yes, excellent. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome. Loose wire, obviously. Okay, so the number of submissions, Jordan says, ranks this bill among the most submitted in the history of Parliament. But the government majority cut short the time listening to submitters travelling the country for just 5 days. As I told the committee, it is pathetic that we can do better, getting out on the road for more than a month on a roadshow tour to listen to New Zealanders' concerns. Ms. Mahuta also claims that extensive changes have been proposed. What nonsense. Rather than promote democratic accountability, the proposed state changes actually double down. Now I'm going to get into some te reo, forgive if I mispronunciate. Te mana o te wai and te mana o te wai statements will be even more powerful and tie the hands of the half of the regional representative groups who are accountable to elected councils. The government has listened to councils so more council representatives can sit on the regional representative groups, but the 50-50 requirement for unaccountable iwi appointments remains the same. Which is pretty much a large part of the issue, One of the changes is for councils to have annual shareholder meetings, and that in of itself is dishonest misrepresentation, Jordan says. Councils still won't have any rights of shareholders or ownership. There will be absolutely nothing to talk about and certainly no control exercise. So to me, it truly feels like opposition to this Three Waters proposal is futile, as per so many of the pieces of legislation that this Labour government has enacted over the past few years. They are following their ideology, damn be everyone else, while doing their best to placate the New Zealand public in opposition with false promises, nonsense rhetoric, and listening and caring, and enacting total control that the current majority provides. Three Waters is such a nonsense from where I sit. No one wants it, and the next government is going to repeal it. And at least this is what the right bloc is saying they're going to do at the moment. Surely now, if they can see that this is doomed to fail and damage the cohesion of New Zealand as their support continues to dwindle, wouldn't they back out of the whole thing now? They've got the ability to do that. Why would they not. You've got to ask these questions when they're supposed to be serving the people, and that is, we pay for their salaries. They're supposed to do the best for us. And this is so widely opposed, and yet they continue to push, 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 push. Is it anything other than ideology? Many questions for you to ponder and discuss, I am sure. What's positive, though? Let's get on to a little bit of positiveness. I hear someone in the back ask, fair enough, let's focus on the black firm's triumph, Samoa's triumph over the English in the Rugby World Cup, the stunning weather we currently have, and the fact that we are all alive and able to think for ourselves, whatever that means to you and your family and friends. Let's be thankful to our consciousness, our family, our connection to each other, and nature, and our ability to bloody breathe. I have a beautiful breathwork sequence video I am currently working on now, and I look forward to posting. But to close off this live, thanks to everyone for joining me. I'm going to leave you with some words from Dao De Jing. Empty your mind of all thoughts, let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Returning to the source is serenity. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. But when you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life throws at you, and when death comes your way, you are ready. Really, really love that one. Catching some more of those quotes and philosophical leanings in the recent past. Really, really loving it. Puts things into perspective for me. Thanks for everyone that's jumped on for the Sunday morning live, and to everyone that watches this delayed as this continues to grow over the next day or two, as these things seem to do. I really, really appreciate the continued support. Get amongst the comments below. Keep it respectful, of course. Share these links around to anyone that you think may find this interesting. We are still continuing to grow. We haven't talked about that for a while. We're up to near enough 8,500 followers now, and we're continuing the upward trend. So I feel blessed, very humble, very grateful for all of you. And on that note, I'm going to go and catch up with a friend. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Stay safe, stay free, and we'll see you again real soon.